Today I'm going to show you some hip activation exercises that you can do after a hip mobilization. What's going on, everybody? It's Blake Bowman here with Gorilla Zen Fitness, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you some hip activation exercises that you can do following mobilization of the hips. Now, for most of you, I'm beating a dead horse with this one, but if you haven't seen my video on why doing activation is important after doing mobilizations, then go ahead and check that out first right over here. Since we are working on improving hip extension and hip external rotation in my hip mobilization video, today the muscles that we're going to be activating are those same muscles, the muscles that extend the hip and externally rotate the hip. So starting with hip extension activation exercises, these are a couple of my favorites. This is a classic hip thruster movement. Basically, you're going to lay on your back, just like this. You want to bend those knees as much as possible. This will shorten the hamstrings so much that they really can't even fire here, because we want your glutes firing as your primary mover here. Bend the knees, keep the heels as close to the butt as possible. Thrust the hips up as high as you can go. Really trying to get as much extension in the hips as possible. Squeezing the glutes, okay? So this is one variation, a progression of this. You'll just switch to doing a single leg hip thruster. Extend the leg that you're not working. Keep the leg that you are working planted. And just extend with that leg. Okay, so this is a static lunge. You can do these walking, but I'm just going to do them static in this area right here because I don't want to walk out of the picture frame. But all you're going to do for this is a regular lunge, okay? That back knee is going to come down to about several inches above the ground, not actually touch the ground, keeping the glute engaged, core engaged, push up, other leg, okay? What we're working on here is using that new range of motion from the hip mobilizations, really taking that back leg far into extension and squeezing your ass cheek as hard as possible here, okay? We're trying to get as much glute activation as possible. So think about the leg that's behind you while you're doing this activation. All right, so this one's going to look kind of weird, but it's really good for activating the glutes because of the load vector, okay? It's an antero-posterior load vector. I talked about that in my glute activation video. If you haven't seen it, then check it out. But essentially, since the resistance is coming from this way during this exercise, it's going to be really, really conducive to getting maximal glute activation, okay? It looks weird, but what you need is a resistance band. You can also do this on a cable machine, but you basically want the resistance coming from behind you. You're going to grab the band, step over it, okay? This is the weird part, but if you try this, you'll know what I mean. It's very effective for activating the glutes, okay? So keep that spine neutral here. You're going to flex from the hips and the knees, and then drive forward and squeeze your glutes as hard as you can. Trying to come into hip extension here, okay? Don't hyperextend the hips, okay? That's a good way to start to develop sway back posture, but stop the hips right underneath the rib cage and really emphasize the glute contraction. Okay, that's pretty much it. So those were great glute activation exercises that are going to allow you to use that new range of motion that the mobilization afforded you. Now we're going to work on external rotation. So the first hip external rotation we're going to do is just a regular clam, is what it's called. Okay, you're going to lay on your side here, knees bent, hips bent, okay? And then you're just going to open up like this, using that new external rotation afforded to you by the mobilization. Really open up here. If you have tight adductors, you might feel a stretch there, okay? So this is one variation. A lot of you, this is not going to be enough though, and you're going to need to progress by using a resistance band, okay? So this is a closed resistance band. Basically, this is just called a banded clam variation. You're just going to band up your knees like this, okay? We've added a resistance component to this, okay? Lay on your side, rest your head on your bicep, and then open up as much as you can, really using that new range of motion afforded to you by the mobilization, okay? Really try to get as much external rotation as you can there. Okay, just by demonstrating that, I felt that a lot in my hip external rotators. Okay, so the best exercise for the external rotation would probably be those banded clams. And I was going to end the video with that, but I wanted to show you this just in case you didn't really like that and you're looking for something else. So this, we're just going to externally rotate the leg in a standing position with resistance, with a resistance component, okay? So you can use a cable. Some cable machines have like a foot attachment that can go on the toes, pull your foot that way, okay? You can use that as resistance, or you can use a band like this, okay? It's actually a little bit more difficult with this, but I wanted to show it to you anyway. But what you're gonna do is you're gonna put the band handle around your foot, okay? Kind of like a stirrup, but you just want it around the front part of your foot, around your toes, okay? Then you're gonna anchor the other end into the ground with your other foot, okay? And then from here, you're gonna keep your hips neutral, and you're just gonna externally rotate the leg like that, trying to get gluteus maximus contraction while you do it, okay? So you're squeezing your butt cheek while you do this, rotate that leg out like that, okay? Really contracting the glute on the side that you're doing this. Like I said, a cable actually works better if you have the proper attachment. But basically, if you set this up for yourself, you want the resistance coming from the side so that you can use that resistance as you're externally rotating. So you want that resistance pulling your leg into internal rotation so you can fight against it going into external rotation. Pick a couple of these, do a couple sets of each after mobilization, and really just focus on squeezing the glutes as hard as you can. You want to use that new range of motion afforded to you by the mobilizations to get even more contraction in those muscles. Do that and let me know how it goes for you. Lastly, I'm looking for more questions to answer for all of you. So if you have a question that you want to see me answer or some sort of issue, problem that you want me to address, go ahead and leave a comment in the comment area down below asking the question, and I will be sure to respond to you. If you haven't yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, go ahead and do that right over here, as well as give me a like on Facebook and follow me on Instagram. I'll include links to both of those things in the description down below. Other than that, I'll see you next time.